workstations and the laptops and the servers. A lot of IT people fall into the trap of just deploying it on a server because that's sort of the mind space they've been in historically. But the best way to deploy SOS is to put it on every single node, and then that way users can actually do their own recoveries. Hope that makes sense. But servers are definitely supported, and SBS is a prime example of that. All right, so let's look at the various elements of the partner program. Infrastructure, we've got a global infrastructure grid. We can actually do data zoning, so if you're in Canada and you want your data to stay in Canada, we can support that. Similarly with the United Kingdom, America obviously, and Australia. Apart from that, we've got 11 data centers around the world, and your data is always, we keep at least 2 copies of your data at any given point in time. Product and software, every piece of software you see with SOS is brandable, and we can deliver it to you under your brand or co-branded with us. Some partners just want to use the SOS brand, and that's fine too. From a billing standpoint, we support 3 separate billing models. One is where we can bill your customers for you. Another is where you bill your customers and you just pay an invoice to us. And then the third is that you hook into our billing and account management API and actually integrate your billing and customer relationship management systems straight into ours. And so if you're interested in that, ask your partner specialist about our web integration packages, or WIP. They use the short name that our sales teams come up with for that, but our web integration packages. Marketing support. I want to pause on this one a little bit and talk about it. Going back a ways, we had a problem where a lot of our partners came in and they were small IT shops, maybe 2 or 3 guys, extremely technically competent, but not necessarily very sophisticated when it came to marketing. So we set out to solve this problem for our partners. We really wanted to help them with the marketing of their services. So we developed a whole program around supporting our partners, the centerpiece of which is our Partner Resource Center. And I'm just going to switch across to Chrome. Hopefully that's coming through for everybody. And so I'm here on our website on the Resellers tab, which I'm sure you've all seen. And there's a sub-nav item here, Partner Resource Center. And I'd encourage all of you to take some time and look through it. The PRC is a whole portal designed to support you in sales and marketing and support. So in here we've got email templates for you to use for lead generation, pricing guidelines on how to position and price your online backup service depending on which market you're serving, sales presentation templates that you can use to pitch your customers, a full DR plan. So this is a 40-page ITIL compliant disaster recovery template that you can actually sell to your customers. A lot of our partners actually sell this for between $1,000 and $2,000. Proposal templates, which can be quite useful. An online backup sales guide. This is my personal favorite. This is a 14-page ebook we wrote, which really distills all of the sales and marketing best practices that we've gleaned from our partners over the years. And so it really gives you a program that you can follow, which covers best practices for lead generation, opportunity identification and development, sales closing, customer nurturing and upselling, and of course support. So it's really a program that you can follow for success in online backup. And then some white papers on various technologies. There's also a myriad of support and training resources in the PRC that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Another question here from Warren. How does SOS compare with image-based backup methods such as Acronis and or StorageCraft? So Warren, how do we think about this? Well, the way I think about it is image-based backup is terrific for local backup and terrific for being able to, say, do a bare metal recovery. Traditionally, you would use that in combination with an online backup service. So pushing a full image to the cloud, you can definitely do. And we, if you wanted to do that, all of the latest Windows operating systems actually have built-in imaging backup, which we prefer to use and we work with. But we really do not recommend it, and here's the problem. Firstly, it's an enormous amount of data you have to push. Secondly, a lot of that data is redundant. And thirdly, all the data is then wrapped up in an image that you can't access from the cloud. So a lot of the power from online backup comes from having a fully a real-time index into that data on a folder and file basis, whereas when you wrap it all up in an image, you don't have that. So what we recommend is that you have an image of your baseline OS and then combine that with our service to back up all of your key data and access all of your key data. Warren also asks, is Asigra a competitor? Yes, Asigra is. Nathan asks, is your software able to perform bare metal OS? So Nathan, no, that's what I was just talking about. We don't do it within our software. We work with the Windows imaging solution, so built into Windows Vista, Win 7, Win 2K8, and all the latest SBS OSs is Microsoft's image-based backup, and we work with that. So moving around the circle, so marketing, I think we just covered a lot of that. Sales. Our sales environment, our sales organization rather, is rather special. And I say that because it's actually set up to be your sales organization. We have a group of people we call our partner specialists. They're the people you're probably already talking to. And their job in life is to evaluate whether or not you're a good fit for our partner program. And if you are, you come in and you continue to work with that partner specialist. And they actually work as your sales rep. So when you've got meetings or you've got presentations to do, they support you. They attend those conference calls. They do webinars for you. They work under your brand as your backup specialist. And we're the only people who do it. And it's a very, very powerful mechanism, particularly in the first 90 days of being an SOS reseller. After that, you've probably got your sea legs, and you can probably sell it by yourself or have your sales organization sell it. But in terms of getting up to speed and getting in the market, we find that it's a very powerful mechanism that our salespeople show up as your salespeople to sell your clients. Training, got 3 separate training streams that are going on every day. There's both pre-canned training videos, there's training materials, and then there's live seminars that go on daily. And there's 3 different streams. One is sales training for your sales staff, one's tech support training for your support people, and the third is just technology training on online backup technology as a whole, so more of a general training stream. Very comprehensive training program for you to get into the market, and different levels of learning for you as you move from being a beginner in online backup through to being an expert. And then, of course, tech support. We've got unparalleled technical support. There are actually no fewer than 4 people. It's later on, I'll just talk about it. But when you become an SOS reseller, you have your partner specialist, your account manager, your partner delivery consultant who gets you in the market, and then your tech support lead. So there are actually 4 different people assigned to your account, which is unparalleled. So moving on and looking at who you can sell this to. Obviously, consumers are a great market. So for those of you who are selling into the home user space, it's a particularly rich space. And just to give you a reference point when you're doing your modeling, our average sales price to home users is $114. So consumers will pay $100 easily for this service, and that's usually to back up a whole, say, family of computers. But the richest market is, of course, the business markets. So on this slide, we look at both the vertical markets that our partners are having success in and also the business needs that they're solving. Just looking at the vertical markets, the richest of them all is the medical and healthcare vertical, and it's because of the HIPAA regulatory framework, which pretty much mandates that any business with EPHI, Electronic Protected Health Information, has to use an online backup or online archiving service. And of course, the regulations do not say that, but they do say that you have to keep records encrypted, off-site, and versioned. And I think online backup is probably the only cost-effective way of doing that. Similarly, Sarbanes-Oxley regs make the financial services sector a particularly rich vertical to target, and that can be your local accountant all the way through to Wall Street type firms. We've got a lot of banks as our customers. Legal and government are both very rich markets, so your local, and when I say government, that could be local government, counties, courthouses, cities, all the way through to state and federal government agencies, but most common among our partners are selling to local government offices. So that might be a city, that might be a court system, that might be a local state agency, but government generally always invests in off-site backup. I worked for the US government myself once upon a time, and we had a budget of $50,000 a year for off-site backup. In our small office, we only had 20 people in our office. And then education is also a big market. In terms of business needs, obviously the service gets sold as a general DR and an archiving solution. But then some other applications are laptop fleets. Typically, backing up laptop fleets is a real pain point for companies, and SOS really solves that need. Branch offices, similarly. Traditional server deployments, obviously email servers, app servers, database servers, and then remote data access and mobile data access are big markets as well. So let's flip through and take a look at an example partner who's doing very well at this. At a high level, this partner's built an online backup business with $70,000 in revenue, but only has costs of $12,000 to us. So he's making 82% gross margin, which is pretty extraordinary. And in terms of how he's been so successful at doing this, it's mainly a pricing strategy. And it works like this. This partner's started, so we developed some guidelines around pricing, and this partner really took them to heart, and then we've developed them further. And it's around the idea of selling this as a total business protection package, not selling it on a per gigabyte basis. So, for example, coming up with a SKU that says 1 to 5 computers, 5 to 10 computers, 10 to 20 computers, 20 to 50, 50 plus, and then just having a flat fee that includes backing up all of the key data. Now, under the hood, you then do the math on how many gigs you'll need to deploy, but you just charge a flat fee of, say, $5,000 a year, right, or perhaps $500 a month. But typically what we find is that businesses will pay annually. 90% of our customers actually buy annually, despite the fact we've got monthly contracts available. And so approaching it this way, not only do you get a very rich cash hit from selling those annual plans, but you can actually make very, very high margin, because what the business is buying is a total protection solution. You're going to come in, you're going to do an audit of all the data and where it's sitting. You're going to do an analysis of their existing disaster recovery plan. You're going to provide them with a comprehensive disaster recovery plan, which they can lodge with their auditors or their banks or their lawyers or their accountants. You're then going to deploy the software and protect every computer in their environment, and then you're going to manage it and monitor it. And by providing that holistic, total managed backup service, you can make pretty wonderful margin from selling the product at what equates to $10, $15, $20 a gigabyte year, because you're not actually selling it on a per gigabyte basis. If there's one thing you take away from this webinar, it's don't try and sell online backup on a per gig basis, because you'll find it very difficult to compete. If there's a second thing you take away from this webinar, it's that online backup pricing can be a little bit complicated. So what I'd recommend is you call in, talk to a partner specialist, and have them do an ROI analysis for you. It's a short 10-minute survey that we do with you. We gather some information from you and plug it into our models, and we give you a high side and a low side model on what you can expect from online backup. So it's really just a business case analysis. And we use that to determine if you're a good fit for us as a partner, and you use that to help determine if we're a good fit for you. So I think probably everybody on the webinar today is going to call in for the Kindle. While you're there, get an ROI done, and talk to one of our partner specialists about having an ROI model built. It's probably the best use of 10 minutes, much more educational than listening to me for however long we've been going. Just going back once, here on screen we've got some examples of the rebranded material. Every piece of software or marketing slick you see can be rebranded. And in fact, you can get a sneak peek of what that would look like right now. While you're there, ask our partner specialist about getting a mock-up produced. And that's where our design team will actually give you a marketing slick with a rebranded version of our software in it, so that you can actually use that to start drumming up interest among your customers prior to becoming a partner. On the screen here's an example of a rebranded version of our vulnerability scanner. The vulnerability scanner is a software utility we built for partners, which analyzes the PC it runs on and finds the data. So it goes out and it finds the data and gives you a report back with how many files it's found and how much data in these different buckets. You can see here in the foreground the vulnerability scanner branded for SOS, and in the background branded for one of our partners. So this is an example of both the branding we do and the marketing support we give you. So call in and ask our team about getting a mock-up done for your business.